Hello. Sorry, had some IT problems with the camera just earlier this afternoon, and so wasn't quite ready to start live at 1 o'clock as planned. However, good to go now. Just wait a few minutes in case there's anybody going to join, and of course the chat section is open if anybody does have any questions, observations, opinions, etc. about the Celtic game last night. Hopefully the IT keeps on working, hopefully the microphone keeps on working. Been rather busy day today, and so rather than doing a video, I thought I would do a live stream version, and if anybody was around to watch it live, that'd be great, and also very happy to participate in any questions and answers and opinions. And similarly, if you're watching this delayed in the taped version, again, the comment section that goes with the taped version open, and always delighted as quite a lot of you who've been popping opinions and comments into the various different sections of the channel. Always very happy to chat and reply and share opinions. So let's crack on with the little review of Celtic's great victory 2-1 against Feyenoord last night. Great to see Celtic winning at last in the Champions League. It's 6 years since we beat Anderlecht away in the Champions League, which was our last Champions League win, and 10 years since our last home Champions League win, which was against Ajax back in 2013. And so obviously a long wait to see Celtic win again in the Champions League. Just as a matter of first impressions of the game, I thought Celtic played well. It was great to see such great effort, commitment from the whole team. I think a few of the players played especially well, which we'll come to in a few minutes. A couple of players were, for me, very, very disappointing, and I would be very happy to see Rodgers ditch them once and for all and move them out the club. I think Celtic had a bit of luck for a change in the Champions League. We've not had the luckiest set of events in the Champions League this season. We were a wee bit unlucky, I think, with Lagerbielke's 2 yellow cards in the first game against Feyenoord. I think the penalty was rather dodgy that gave Lagerbielke a second yellow card that night. I think Thiago Holm, perfectly reasonable red card. He didn't intend to hurt the player, but did go over the top. However, I think had it been just 1-0 down at that time, rather than us down to 10 men, it may well have been a different outcome that time. First half against Feyenoord, in Feyenoord we played well, I think, until a rather disappointing lapse in concentration by the defence and by Joe Hart, let that free kick in. Our home game against Lazio, I think we more than deserved a point out that match. It was the one where there was rather odd decision by Rodgers when the game was going fine. The defence was holding strong. He brought on Carter Vickers for his first game in absolutely ages. Carter Vickers looked a bit slow, stiff, needing some match sharpness. I don't think a Champions League match against Lazio was quite the place to be getting yourself back to match sharpness. And of course, CCV made a rather fatal error late on, and Lazio got a late goal to win that time, when of course by a few millimetres Luis Palma's goal was disallowed for offside. but such small margins are how games are decided. I've, in previous videos and live streams, also felt that when we were 1-1 with Atletico Madrid, 10 minutes to go, which turned into 15 minutes with the added time for injuries, etc. I really wish Celtic had really gone for it. Instead, we seemed quite happy for a draw. Rodgers didn't really seem to get things going, didn't make any positive substitutions in that last spell, and that cost us the points. I think we totally deserved to get whacked in Madrid. The Maeda sending off was a bit of a shame, a bit unfortunate. Thought we defended very, very well against Lazio in Rome for 80 minutes, then a couple of lapses of concentration, but also with those, there were a couple of unlucky deflections that took the ball straight to the Lazio player. The ball could have screwed wide, gone to out for a corner kick or a throw-in, etc. But instead it went perfectly for the Lazio player, who, to their credit, Immobile took both goals very, very well. So, just coming to yesterday's match, which is the prime reason for this live stream video. Celtic did a grand job, fought hard, battled hard, had that wee bit of luck. Some people might say it was a slightly soft penalty. However, the Feyenoord player's rookie did have his arms round Scales, around his body, then an arm round his neck. Scales tried to get out from the hold and lost his balance, went down in the box, and the referee gave a penalty. And unlike the decision at the end of the Lazio match in Rome, the VAR referee upheld the decision. We got the penalty, and Lewis Palmer very calmly faked the goalkeeper and popped it safely down the middle, well out of the road, well out the way of the Feyenoord keeper. I think it was actually a very good game of football. Both teams very much in the fight for the game. Both teams playing very positively and going for it. Feyenoord certainly didn't come just to make up the numbers. I think Feyenoord came to get another win and boost their confidence as they try and fight their way back in the Dutch league. Also give them confidence going into the Europa League knockout phase next year, which they qualified for by being third. And I don't think anybody can undervalue how significant the victory was over Feyenoord yesterday. It was their best team. They had Jimenez back, they had their captain back, they had their best goalkeeper back, and it was actually a much stronger 11 they put out, with some very good quality substitutes as well. And so I think it was the top team that Feyenoord could put out, probably their best 11 that they've got available in their squad. And in the end, Celtic fully deserved their victory. Wee bit of luck here and there, a little bit of frantic defending here and there, some really good saves, I thought, by Joe Hart. His best game, I feel, this season for Celtic, just in the nick of time. Alison Johnston was at fault for me for the goal. He got drawn into the middle when he should have been sticking with Minty, the winger. However, he got drawn into the middle. A little bit of a melee of bodies in the ball, and the ball beat Johnson, went to Minty, who gave Hart no chance. Feyenoord did have a couple of chances after that. However, Celtic got back into the game. O'Riley and McGregor very late on hit the bar, and then we got some pressure down the wing. Got a corner that ended up with the ball going out to Alison Johnston, who then clipped a wonderful pass over the top to O'Riley, who ran onto it. Brilliant control by O'Riley to beat the defender. And a lovely measured ball to Lagerbielke, who was unmarked at the back post and scored the winning goal. And Celtic kept on battling, kept on fighting for another 6 minutes or 7 minutes of added time from the referee, and we held on for a very well-deserved victory. I said, I think in a couple of comments yesterday, that win, lose or draw, I would be happy as long as Celtic gave their all the players tried their hardest, and that we went into the game with a positive attitude, trying to win the game, and showed a bit of aggression, pride, and never say die attitude. And I think, all in all, that was all those things we saw. I have to say, when I saw the starting lineup, it was very surprising to see Stephen Welsh starting over and above Gustav Lagerbielke. Certainly was not looking forward to the likely sight of Nat Phillips yet again. His performance at Kilmarnock was one of the worst I've seen by a Celtic defender in many, many years. Took me back to a game against Clyde in the Cup many years ago that we lost 2-0. Can't remember the name of the Chinese defender, but he made his one and only appearance for Celtic that day. Made a lot of errors, and we ended up getting knocked out of the Cup by Clyde. Thankfully, we never saw that Chinese player again in the first team, and I really do hope we don't see Nat Phillips ever again in the Celtic strip, and that in the next match against Hearts, if CCV is back fully fit, grand, we'll have CCV and Scales in central defence with Lagerbielke on the bench. If CCV is still not fit, we can then start Lagerbielke and Scales, who had a very good relationship and partnership established. They had 5 or 6 clean sheets after being thrown into the deep end against Rangers in that match shortly after Lagerbielke arrived in Scotland. And Navrocki on the bench, and Liverpool want Nat Phillips back a couple of weeks early. He can go tied up with a bow and a nice bit of Christmas wrapping paper back to Liverpool to help them with their defensive crisis. Watching the game, I thought Stephen Welsh was rather out his depth, made quite a few errors. A couple of times got caught in the ball, a couple of times very badly out of position. Several times Feyenoord beat us with a very simple ball over the top or down the side. We looked rather weak down our left side the whole match. Greg Taylor didn't have a very good defensive match, but it was lucky that this time around Liam Scales was an absolute titan in defence and covered across very well. And when Lagerbielke did come on after Welsh got re-injured, I thought Lagerbielke and Scales looked good together. Celtic looked better organised, and I think the partnership of Scales, Navrocki, Lagerbielke and CCV can see us through the next few seasons. I think probably in the fullness of time, CCV may well move back down south, but I think if we can keep hold of Navrocki, Lagerbielke and Scales in the long term, we'll be very well served. And I think those 3 players will get better and better and better with more and more experience. And I think personally, one of the things we have to remember with this bunch of players is so many of them were playing in the Champions League for the first time. Quite a few of the players were actually signed more to be backup and development players, but due to the injuries to CCV, to Hatate, to Abada, to Maeda, they kind of got thrown into the deep end. And some of them, like Scales and Palmer, managed to swim. A couple, such as Yang and maybe Ord and Thiago Holm, struggled. Thought Lagerbielke in the Scottish matches has done fine. he had a rather unfortunate European match, obviously against Feyenoord. Paul Bernardo's actually had, I think, three or four games in this Champions League. He came on and when Tomoki Iwata unfortunately got injured, I thought Bernardo had an okay game. Some nice touches, some nice breaking up of play. Made himself available for McGregor and O'Riley. And O'Riley and McGregor did a great job, I thought, and McGregor remarkable as he was playing more of the defensive holding midfield role. He got himself far forward on many occasions, kind of playing more like a Hatate role, where he was going box to box rather than being stuck more in the defensive third and in our own half. And for me, man of the match, obviously Liam Scales, close behind McGregor, O'Riley, and I think a special mention for Joe Hart. Did say that Alistair Johnston was at fault for the Feyenoord goal. However, he did actually defend extremely well down the right-hand side. Feyenoord were not much of a threat down our right, their left. Several times, Johnston got himself involved in 6-yard box scuffles, clearing the ball, blocking the ball, and was the key to a couple of close things in added time, which Celtic managed to clear, largely due to Johnston getting himself involved, blocking the ball, clearing it, and blocking out the Feyenoord players. One other really bright spot for me from yesterday's match was Mitchell Frame. Came on late in the game, replacing Lewis Palma, who went off with a bleeding nose, having been whacked in the face by the Feyenoord player. Mitchell Frame, primarily a left back, although he has been playing much more in the B team and the under-18 European matches in that more advanced role. And I think he actually showed an awful lot of promise, an awful lot of skill. Came in, despite the fact he's only 17, he looked reassured, looked confident, got himself involved, and on a couple of occasions got up the wing nicely, tried to make crosses, got corners for Celtic on a couple of occasions. And I think I would actually personally love to see him kept in and around the first team squad. As I do actually feel that his brief performance and play against Feyenoord yesterday, he actually showed so much more skill, more aggression, more tactical nous, more ability than Mikey Johnston, who after about 5 or 10 minutes of the first half, you would hardly know he was actually on the pitch. Unlike Lewis Palma, who managed to get up and down the wing, defending in our third, moving into midfield, getting into the final third, crosses, running towards the box, etc. I thought Lewis Palma in the first half especially had a really good game. Unlike Mikey Johnston, and Mikey Johnston for me was by far the worst player on the pitch. And I do hope that in the winter window he joins the list alongside Kobayashi, McCarthy, Burnaby, and Siegrist, and disappears off the books at Celtic. I don't think Mikey Johnston's got a future at Celtic. I think also if Mikey Johnston goes, that does allow players like Yang and Tilio, who really initially were signed to be backups, to develop and get better and better. Gives them a chance to back up Abada and Maeda and Palma, etc. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers will be brave enough, but I personally would quite like to see Mitchell Frame start on the left on Saturday against Hearts, with Luis Palma down the right, assuming he gets over his nose injury. Other alternative may be starting with James Forrest. See if he can give us a good 45 to 60 minutes up and down the right, and then swapping Palmer from the left to the right, and then popping Mitchell Frame on for the last 30 to 45 minutes. I think he is a player of the future, and as I've said in a couple of previous videos and comments about Mitchell Frame, a lot of people who have been at Celtic for a number of years feel that Mitchell Frame is ticking all the boxes stage by stage that Kieran Tierney showed playing for Celtic at the same age in the same sorts of competitions. If he turns out to be 2/3 of the player that Kieran Tierney did, we're going to have a really good player. And there have been a couple of people who've watched him in his B team games and playing in the European under-18 games, who said he could actually, if he keeps on developing, he could be the solution to our left back problem. Greg Taylor, last year, I thought was a very good player for Celtic. He seems this year to have lost his confidence. I think his ideal role is more of that inverted fullback, which doesn't require the centre-backs to cover back for him, does require the left-sided advanced player to cover back for him, does require midfielders to cover back for him. But when he was more of an attacking role, I thought Taylor actually looked really quite useful and dangerous. It's just unfortunately his defence at the moment that's letting him down. I think he is young enough and talented enough to improve again, and I do wonder whether if he regains his confidence and swagger, whether that his defending will improve automatically as well. So lots and lots of positives to take from yesterday's match. I don't think we should take things too far. It was one win, our first win at home, as I said, for 10 years in the Champions League, first win at all for 6. But however, it was worth in total over the whole of this Champions League season, 29.7 million, with 2 million just for winning yesterday's match, and also 2 UEFA coefficient points for future European qualifications. And assuming that we do win the league as expected this year, we would then be into the Champions League directly. But unless we and Rangers and any other Scottish sides pull their socks up, we're going to be struggling to have automatic places into any European competitions unless we gain a few more UEFA coefficient points in the next 12 months or so. That just about finishes things off for today. Haven't seen any update on in terms of players coming in or out of Celtic. Next game, of course, for Celtic is against Hearts at the weekend. I think obviously this is going to be a massive injection of confidence back into the team. Hopefully we keep up the game, keep up the pressure, aggression, and confidence and concentration for the full 90 minutes against Hearts, rather than letting things lapse like they did against Kilmarnock in the second half. Game against Hearts probably liable to be a bit more open. Hearts don't tend to play the way that Kilmarnock and St Mirren and Dundee, etc. do, and so that may also allow Celtic just to be that wee bit more positive. And I think if they get on top against Hearts, they should win quite comfortably, as of course we did last time we played them a couple of months ago at Tynecastle, where Iwata scored a lovely final goal. No news in terms of fitness confirmation for Maeda or CCV, or the injuries to Palma Welsh and Iwata. I would guess that CCV and Palmer will both be fully fit and able to play on Saturday. I would suspect Maida might well be on the bench at best. Welsh, it looked uncertain, could well just have been a cramp rather than an actual injury that took him off. Iwata, I fear, will be out for a few weeks at least, as it looked like he may well have had an ankle sprain going over on his ankle, making the tackle that stopped Feyenoord getting through. One other wee thing that just came to mind as I was finishing off there, did think Feyenoord in the end were actually quite lucky to keep 11 men on the pitch, given the fact that Zerouki was booked for pulling down scales in the box and giving away the penalty. He then committed 4 or 5 more fouls, one of which looked really pretty nasty, but managed to evade a second yellow card. And similarly, Minty, their wide player who came on as a substitute, Minty on loan from Newcastle to Feyenoord. Minty in the end scored the Feyenoord equaliser, but he was booked early in his substitute appearance, and then a couple of more fouls, including quite a nasty stamp on the foot of, I think it was Greg Taylor, can't remember exactly, but it's the kind of foul that almost always gets you a yellow card, as was the case for both Johnston and I think Taylor earlier in the match as well. And it was strange that the referee kept his yellow cards in the box, his pocket. I mean, quite easily, Zerouki and Minty could well have replicated the Celtic Feyenoord match in reverse by getting red cards. However, we managed to beat 11 men. We managed to beat our hoodoo in Europe. And I think if we do keep the nucleus of this side together, add a couple more players, ideally, as I said, a good goalkeeper, a good defensive left back, and a third striker to go along with Kyogo and O. And another position I really would like to see Celtic firming up is a more aggressive, defensive, rough and tough midfielder in the mould of Scott Brown, Victor Wanyama, Paul Lambert, Neil Lennon, etc. Kind of midfield enforcer. Don't really think McGregor or Iwata are quite that sort of player. Both Holm and Bernardo are a bit more attacking in their mentality. Scott Brown clone or a Victor Wanyama clone would be great in the next couple of transfer windows as well. Either way, I think if we keep this nucleus together, keep as many of these players on the pitch, try and avoid injuries, I think Celtic would actually will actually do better in next year's European competitions and even better in the one after that. And to an extent, a large part of that relates to the board committing a lot of money to ensure longer term good contracts for Kyogo, Maeda, Abada, Hattati, O'Riley, Ralston, Welsh, and I think we should get Liam Scales signed up for a nice long-term boosted contract as well, and see if we can bring in 2 or 3 other good quality starting players, remembering that we've got to convince that player to come to Scotland, which, given the prestige of the Scottish League, is going to be difficult to get players from the big leagues to come to Scotland unless it's on loan. But I do think the future is rosy for Celtic. So, finishing things off today, as I said, for those watching it as live in the taped version, don't hesitate to pop comments and opinions and thoughts into the comment section, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Tomorrow we'll be starting to look a wee bit towards the Hearts match, also maybe reflecting on the online poll we had, which is still open, regards the choices Celtic have for third striker. At this point, interestingly, the most favoured person in the online poll for replacement, the third striker, is Lawrence Shankland, and with votes also for Keith Garden and Miovski, and a couple of other suggestions for players from other leagues who may be out of our price range or may not choose to come to Celtic. Yep. Just responding to that comment, it was absolutely wonderful that Celtic won. I think it's from comment from B. Yep, absolutely wonderful that Celtic won. Cheered me up no end. Got a wee bit nerve-wracking at the end, but it was actually great to see Celtic come through at the end. And it was a wee bit reminiscent of the good old days under Ange Postecoglou, or the good old days of Celtic, where Celtic played from minute 1 to minute 90, or minute 97 as it was yesterday. And we did show a never say die attitude. We got a wee bit luck here and there, but we won out in the end. So, as I was saying just a few minutes ago, just need to call the live stream to an end at that point. Sorry to be for having to call things to an end around about the half an hour stage. It was wonderful that you were able to join the end of the live stream live, and if you do have any questions, queries, opinions, etc., do pop those into the comment section that goes with this live stream video, and I'll get back to you quick as I can in the comment section or in the videos over the next couple of days. So just to finish off, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll chat again tomorrow and through the weekend. Hopefully another happy post-match review after the game on Saturday against Hearts, extend our lead over the other club in Glasgow. And so for today, goodbye and hail, hail.